Well, Abdel Bari Atwan joins us now, live from London. He is a writer and author. Great to have you on the programme. I just want to get to your views on what the British Foreign Secretary David Cameron has been saying. He's been saying that there's a generous, that's the word he's using, offer of sustained 40-day ceasefire in Gaza in exchange for the release of hostages. What's your reaction to this? Could this be the moment so many people have been waiting for?
I believe it is still takes long time to reach an agreement to put an end to the war in Gaza. I believe Mr. Blinken trip to the Middle East will be extremely difficult one, simply because people are hugely disappointed from the American position. The only country which can put an end to this war, this genocide, is the United States. So as long as the United States is trying to bargain here and saying that we need normalization with Saudi Arabia in exchange of to stop this war or even stop the war in Rafah. So I believe this kind of style, or tactic from the United States wouldn't work at all.
I'll come back to that point. But what do you expect Hamas's response to be?
Well, Hamas is very clear. From the day one, they said, okay, we want to have a full ceasefire, a full Israeli withdrawal from Gaza, a reconstruction of Gaza, and the exchange of hostages from both sides. There are about 6,000 Palestinian and Israeli prisoners. They must be released. So I think Hamas will be very careful here. They were, deceived before. The Palestinians were deceived before. They were promised of independent Palestinian state. They were promised that, Gaza will be another Singapore. They were promised that there will be peace between the Israeli and the Palestinian. There will be independent Palestinian state. Nothing of this happened at all. So Hamas are very careful. Said, okay, we want a deal, but we want a guaranteed deal. We want the United States and other superpower to guarantee any agreement. We don't want the Israeli to actually have a ceasefire and then leave, take the hostages and come back and reoccupy Gaza again. So I think Hamas is very careful. They answered the American, they answered the mediators, Arab mediators, Egypt and Qatar, and they're saying this is our condition. And it seems that they are sticking to their demands. Unless they respond positively to these demands, I don't believe there will be any agreement.
And going back to that point that you said about the difficult US position, what did you mean by that, obviously, and the talks with regards to normalization with Saudi Arabia? How will this impact everything?
The problem is, the American, they would like to reward the Israeli. They will say to the Israeli, if you stop the war in Gaza, we will work for a normalization of relation between Saudi Arabia and Israel. And Saudi Arabia is one of the biggest Arab countries, and very rich countries. So this is the the gift for you if you stop the ceasefire. And it doesn't work like that. I believe why the Israeli should be rewarded. Why the Israeli should be having normalization after the genocide war in Gaza. About 34,000 people were killed and more than 100,000 were injured. And 90% of the Gaza houses and buildings were completely demolished, were completely destroyed. So why should we as Arab to actually have a normalization relation with Israel, which Israel is killing our people, committing a genocide in Gaza? So Israel should be punished, not rewarded. And that's the biggest mistake of the United States. And they cannot sell this as a sort of reward or sort of normalization to the Arab world. Now the Arab countries are very, very embarrassed because they put all their eggs on the American basket. And now the American let them down. 200 days of the war in Gaza, the American never convinced Israel to stop this genocide, to stop this ethnic cleansing of the people in Gaza. So I think the American took it wrong, and I don't believe they will convince the Arab to normalize the relation. I think now there is a revolution in the universities of the United States against the Israeli. There is also some sort of same student revolution in the Arab universities. So I believe now it is not the time of normalization. It is the time of the Israeli to rethink all their policies again and to stop these wars against the people in Gaza and to give the Palestinian independent state, beside the Israeli state. Otherwise, the situation will get wrong, will get actually worse. And I believe also this war in Gaza will expand. Now we're having a war in Lebanon, a war in Yemen, a war in Iraq, the Iraqi now dragged to this war. So I think the whole Middle East will be unstable again, and it will be a lot of wars again. So if the Americans don't use their muscles against the Israeli and put pressure on them to put an end to this war, I believe America will suffer, and its bases in the Middle East will suffer. And also its influence in the Middle East will suffer, because the people are not blaming the Israeli, they are blaming the United States, which is giving arms, giving ammunition to Israel, giving money, $26 billion as financial aid to Israel. I think America actually in a very difficult situation.
Abdel Bari, we've just been looking there at images of Rafah. As you said, 200 days of Israel's war on Gaza. What will, well, if no deal is reached between Hamas and Israel, what will it mean for Rafah? More than 30,000 people already killed.
My dear, I am from Rafah. My family living in Rafah. My house is in Rafah. You know, okay, what the Israeli can do, the only thing they can do actually to kill innocent people, to kill my family, to kill, you know, my people there. This is the only thing which achieved in Gaza by this war of 200 days of killing all the time. So I think the Americans, they shouldn't use Rafah or the invasion of Rafah as a bargaining tip or bargaining actually cards here. No, you know, Israel should not invade Rafah, because the people that, you know, civilian who will suffer. They invaded Khan Yunis. They attacked Khan Yunis. 4 months it took them, but they could not control Khan Yunis at all, which is much smaller than Rafah. So I believe Rafah, you know, they use it as a threatening cards against the Palestinians. Palestinians are not afraid of this. Okay, what they can do to kill more? You know, if the international community accept these kind of massacres, which is going to take place in Rafah, okay, that's history will record everything. But I believe the Palestinian people, Hamas is still actually in control of Gaza. Israel did not manage to destroy Hamas in Gaza and its rule in Gaza. Palestine did not revolt against Hamas as the American and the Israeli expected, simply because of this bombardment. So I believe the Israeli could not also release their hostages which were taken by Hamas. So I believe there is no win at all, but destruction and a lot of massacres taking place and genocide in Gaza. I believe the Israeli failed, and now the whole international community is aware of what they are doing for the first time. The public opinion, international public opinion, is turning against the Israeli. They can see children who are killed by the Israeli bombardment. This is the only thing they achieved, if this is an achievement.
Abdel Bari Atwan, writer and author, thank you so much for speaking to us today at TRT World. Thank you.
Pleasure.